GC Chat. Welcome to GC Chat, a genetic counselling podcast. Just a reminder that these episodes are made to be listened to in the order that they are released. Please start with episode 1 if you haven't already.
Please contact us if you have any reflections or questions about the case. We want to hear from people with a range of experience. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter by searching GC Chat Podcast, or you can send us an email at gcchatpodcast@gmail.com. If you send us a private message or email, we can promise that your identifying details will not be shared in the podcast without your consent.
Just a reminder that all cases are de-identified in accordance with Australian and US privacy legislation, so any names used in the recording are pseudonyms. Our episodes contain material that may be distressing to some listeners. If you feel you need support, please contact your local crisis centre. Some suggestions are listed on our website, along with our privacy statement and disclaimer.
Our names are Ashley and Elle, and we are genetic counsellors currently working in Sydney, Australia. All opinions are our own.
Today on our last GC Chat episode for Season 1, we are again reflecting on the counselling skills and themes used by the genetic counsellor in the previous case. While discussing this with our GC colleagues, we agreed that it was affirming to hear a case in which the outcomes were really positive. It's nice to experience cases in which you feel you have made a difference in people's lives.
The counsellor talked about some of the skills that she used to build rapport and a trusting relationship with the couple. This helped for Caitlin and Ben to feel comfortable in sharing their attitudes towards invasive testing in pregnancy. The counsellor began by clarifying expectations about why Caitlin and Ben were meeting her.
They thought that they were coming in to be told that they needed to have an amniocentesis and why. And I think they were pleasantly surprised that actually what this was is a bit of an education session, that they were coming in to learn about the pros and cons of amniocentesis and for me to help facilitate that decision-making process for them. So they'd already made up their mind. They didn't want this procedure, but they wanted to feel that it was okay to say no.
Active listening allowed the clients to feel heard.
So I think one of the things that was really important to do was to listen to them, because so far they'd been told what to do in their pregnancy, and even standing up to their obstetrician to say, we're not sure about amniocentesis, to get the referral to land in my lap. I think it was important to make them feel heard, that their choice was an okay choice, and just me sitting there silently while they told their story about their years of infertility, I think made them feel valued and that their decision is the most important decision in, this baby's life.
We discussed with the counsellor that we are often privileged to have time to hear about a patient's journey. This helps us to build rapport, gain a greater understanding of where they are, and provide space for them to tell their story. The genetic counsellor also was able to empathise with the couple's situation and normalise their emotions at this time.
I think empathising with the couple about how sometimes medical professionals often tell us what to do without listening to the reasons why we do or don't choose to pursue them. So empathising that it's really hard to stand up to medical professionals in a case like this, where they're so clearly the expert. They've delivered hundreds of babies, and this is a couple with their very first pregnancy, and they have no idea what to do. And that was also a really important skill, so they felt that this is a normal emotion. So normalising was another important skill that was used, and again, another really basic skill in the counselling toolbox that I brought out. But normalising their experience of being told what to do by a medical professional and not agreeing with that is, really normal human behaviour, because it's a risky procedure. As far as risks go, it doesn't sound all that bad. But to this pregnancy and to this couple, it was the worst sounding thing. They could possibly have a miscarriage from this procedure that they didn't want. Of course they don't want to do it.
She was able to gain insight into their lived experience, which informed their decision-making.
Yeah, helping them sort of have that safe space to share their hopes and dreams for their baby and their fears and worries about this pregnancy. And they'd experienced so many years of infertility, not even a miscarriage, just no pregnancies at all. And this pregnancy was so important that there was just about no diagnosis that they could have heard that would have it would have changed the outcome of the pregnancies.
Given the couple had been averse to finding out or exploring more information, the counsellor was shocked to find that they were so keen to undergo non-invasive prenatal screening.
I was a bit confused because it was conflicting with what they had told me before. I think if the results had been abnormal, I think that would have been difficult for them to hear, even though they were happy, confident, and seemed really settled in their decision that they would continue no matter what.
The counsellor experienced difficulty when speaking to the referring doctor about the couple's decision not to proceed with amniocentesis, and was challenged by the doctor about why they weren't going ahead.
It's never easy to ring a doctor that has expected you to talk their patient into a test that they want them to have. And they had offered to do the procedure for the patient, so it made it really hard because it was quite personal.
Most of us will have experienced feeling pressured or challenged within our practice at one point or another. This can occur for a number of reasons, such as in the context of a multidisciplinary setting. In these situations, it can sometimes be challenging to remain calm and on track when communicating your patient's decisions to other health providers. We reflected that communicating in a confident and measured way is really important in these situations for both yourself and your patients. Part of a genetic counsellor's job is about advocacy and providing space for clients to consider alternative options. The counsellor in this case did a great job in doing so, advocating for her patients as well as her role at the same time.
And I think part of my role as a genetic counsellor was helping them understand that it was a test that's okay to decline.
We recently read Amy Curry-Sturm's Powerful National Society of Genetic Counsellors presidential address in the Journal of Genetic Counselling. Amy has kindly agreed to share the audio from the NSGC conference. Thank you so much, Amy. The speech was titled Empowering Ourselves and Each Other to Own Our Power and Pioneer Our Future as Genetic Counsellors. The speech highlights our power as genetic counsellors to take control of our own future. As we reflect on the case of Caitlin and Ben and highlight the importance of advocating for ourselves as well as our patients, this couldn't be more true.
Genetic counselors are phenomenal at advocating for our patients, but we need to become phenomenal at advocating for ourselves. So I challenge you, empower yourself to lead. Lead locally, lead nationally, be a boss if you can. Who else will advocate for genetic counselors as much as other genetic counselors in positions of power? And in a profession where 95% of us are women, you better believe that we need more women bosses, we need more women leaders, we need more women asking for more, and we need more genetic counselors overall. All of us. Advocating for ourselves and each other so that all genetic counselors will be elevated in healthcare. Just as we tell our patients that DNA does not have to determine their destinies, others do not determine our personal destinies or our destiny as a profession. Others do not define us, we do that. What will fulfill you? What path will you pave? There are countless opportunities out there. You have the power to own your future. You are the only one who has your unique experiences and voice. What do you have to say that you haven't yet said? What do you want to do that you haven't yet done? Look for the opportunities to pioneer and seize them. Reach out directly to those in influential leadership, decision-making positions, and via connection and power, your voice will be heard. Display your knowledge and your value and your expertise, and I assure you that opportunities and sponsors will present themselves. Figure out what you want and go after it. You, as genetic counselors, as powerful individuals, need to insert the genetic counselor voice anytime you can. Do not allow yourself to be small. Do not doubt your abilities. So, what does a genetic counselor do? Anything they put their damn mind to. Woo! Yeah. You are powerful. You are limitless. You are genetic counselors. You chose to be a genetic counselor because it rocks. Be positive, passionate, and proud. In these ways, we can and will all be empowered to lead the integration of genetics and genomics for all together, owning our power and pioneering our future as genetic counselors. Thank you.
We hope you feel as empowered as we did after listening to this. We've only played a few standout lines from Amy's speech, but the full text is available in the Journal of Genetic Counselling, and a link is available in our show notes.
On that positive note, that concludes our final episode of GC Chat Podcast Season 1. We hope you have enjoyed this first season as much as we have enjoyed making it. We are planning to continue with Season 2 later in 2019 and are always looking for more genetic counsellors to share their stories with us. Please contact us if you have a case you would like to share. Instructions for case presenters are available on our website, and your location for recording is no barrier. We can record at our studio in Sydney, by phone in your time zone, or we can present your case on your behalf. We will also be advertising a survey on social media to gain your feedback, as well as your requests for Season 2. Keep an eye out for our link to the survey, or feel free to send us an email at gcchatpodcast@gmail.com.
It's been such a great experience listening to the cases our guests have presented in Season 1. We've been really lucky to hear from and reflect on our practice and counselling skills with such insightful genetic counsellors. It certainly has allowed us to consider further the way in which we might approach difficult cases such as the ones presented. It's also made us recognise and appreciate our unique skill set that sets us apart from other health providers, which is so important at a time at which genetic and genomic testing is so rapidly becoming cheaper, faster and more accessible. Finally, we'd just like to say thank you again to all of our listeners and colleagues for your support and feedback for GC Chat Season 1.
GC Chat.